All right, here we go. Brad Powers is in at BradPower7 up on Twitter. Brad, coming out of the gates, did you put anything on Memphis and Navy?
Yeah, I got negative CLV for a change. I actually bet Memphis, so we'll see how that does. A lot of money came in on Navy right before kick, down to 11.5. I haven't seen from Navy yet so far this season. Bad performance against Notre Dame, fell way short of expectation. And then after a bye against one of the worst FCS teams in the country, fell short of expectations by 3 touchdowns against Wagner. So somebody saw something I didn't.
7-0 right now with Miami and Bethune-Cookman. I didn't get down on this one. I did get down on Charleston Southern plus 50.5 last week, which against Clemson was kind of amazing because the game was tight at the half. I think it was 21-17. It was a blowout, but Charleston Southern covered. Does Bethune-Cookman have any chance to stay in this game against Miami?
No, I mean, but do they have a chance to cover a 54-point spread, which I believe closed as the highest in college football this year? Yeah, certainly. I mean, Miami would think, short week, banged up after a big performance, wouldn't want to lay it on them. So we'll see. Although I think Miami put a 70 spot on Bethune last year, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. But, man, plus 54 would be the only way I would have went on this one.
Are you bought into Miami as a team that can make that jump to get to like 7, 8, 9 wins now?
Oh, certainly. I mean, I bet over 7 wins before the season. So I already was thinking that was a possibility. I actually took a flyer on them to win the ACC at 28-1. So I feel pretty good after that. But, I mean, there's still work to do. They got to play at Florida State. They get Clemson at home. They're at North Carolina. So that was just step 1 out of 3-4 toughies for them. But still, I mean, you can see it. When you pop on the tape, talent levels there, certainly. And I think, obviously, they've upgraded at OC and DC this year. So kudos for Cristobal for, after he bombed the last 2 coordinator hires, he made 2 good ones this offseason.
We get absurd sometimes on Cofield and Company because we throw out declarative statements and then someone else on the show was like, I'll bet you. So last week, JVT, John Montalvo, and I made an over-under bet on wins for Miami, but it's a 2-year bet. So I am over 15 wins. He's under 15 wins.
I like your position.
Of course you do. John, if you're listening, don't drive off the road. Brad agrees with me. All right, let's get into Michigan State. This whole situation is horrendous. I don't know if Mel Tucker's ever going to coach there again. For the players, I mean, talk about a distraction at the worst time, too. Washington's coming in with a guy who seems undefendable in quarterback Michael Penix. So what's going to happen here with Washington pushing close to 17?
I'm going to go contrarian and take Michigan State. Mel Tucker isn't worth anything to the point spread as far as I'm concerned.
Wow.
I think the whole distraction thing, I think, is overrated. Certainly it's getting more than priced in the marketplace. I think perennial speaking, if you know this program, as far as Michigan State goes, they play with a chip on their shoulder. This would be one of those times where they do. Now, I'll say matchup-wise, Washington is not a great matchup with their pass offense against Michigan State's pass defense, which has been a concern the last couple of years. But I expect Sparty to play a really good game. I like Sparty. You can find one of them 17s out there. I bet that earlier today.
Do you believe in bulletin board material having an effect on one side or the other, like Jay Norvell taking a little shot at Deion Sanders? CSU is now catching, 23.5 against Colorado?
Not really. I mean, if you got to continue to look for bulletin board material to be motivated every day, I'm not a big fan, but, I mean, that's just me. Now, with that being said, I mean, Colorado would be the only way to go. I mean, if you want to bet Colorado State late, 24s are starting to show. I think, keep in mind, that's the bailout game. It doesn't start till 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock our time here. So that one's going to get high, in my opinion. So wait on Colorado State if you want to bet the Rams. You might want to fire now on Colorado because, I mean, everybody and their mom, again, is going to be on the Buffs. And I'll say this, bad matchup for Colorado State. I mean, it's very similar, Colorado's offense, to what Washington State threw at them a couple weeks ago. And they couldn't defend in space. I'm not sure they can defend Colorado in space. The opportunity, though, is on the horizon. If you want to see Colorado lose, it's coming.
Will it come against Oregon? That was a mixed bag last week for Oregon, trailing by, 9 late in the third quarter, and then they wound up getting the cover in kind of a ridiculous way. If folks thought Oregon was going to go into Texas Tech and blow them away, they didn't. What's that matchup going to be like? How will Colorado compete against Oregon?
I don't think they'll compete very well, to be honest with you. a tough spot for Oregon. I mean, that's a unique road trip. I mean, Texas Tech, a wounded animal, off a loss to Wyoming. I mean, I just thought that was a bad spot. The fact that they were able to battle, they were down. I thought they showed a lot. The fact that they were down 9 and rallied back and got the win said a lot about them rewatching it. I mean, I wasn't overly concerned. I liked what I saw from their defense up front. I told people before the week, I said, hey, Texas Tech's probably the sharp side, but I can't get around to betting Texas Tech because Tyler Shuck is not very good. He turns the ball over too much for me, and what happened in the game, the reason you didn't cover was Tyler Shuck. So as far as next week goes, I'm expecting that number. We'll see what Colorado does this week and obviously Oregon, but that might be a cheap number on Oregon, less than 2 touchdowns.
Tennessee and Florida is -6.5. Is that too much or just right?
I wouldn't bet it, run to the window, at least bet it at the current number. I would lean Florida. I haven't liked what I've seen from Tennessee so far offensively. I mean, you can say, playing possum and getting ready for the SEC schedule, but I mean, when you have 6 points with a minute left in the second quarter against Austin Peay, something's not right. So they've taken a big step back from the Hendon Hooker-led offense and Jalen Hyatt from last year. They're going to play their toughest defense yet. They haven't really faced a tough defense, and I think in the swamp at night, Florida backed against the wall after already losing to Utah. I bet Florida earlier. I hate naming numbers that I got, but I have a Florida position, and I'm comfortable with it. I also like the under. I think that, on the bright side for Tennessee, I think their defense is making strides.
Penn State's up to 15. No, check that. Hey, it's 15 at Illinois. Too much?
No, Illinois is bad. Not a good. Really took a step back this year defensively. I mean, that's where they hung their hat last year. They don't have the offensive horses as they with Penn State. I think Penn State pulls away. Even though I'm not a big road favorite guy in conference play, I mean, that's the only way to look there.
Can I take a money line on Ohio against Iowa State?
I mean, I could see it. Ohio's been, if Curtis Rourke doesn't go down against San Diego State, I think they win that game. They just went on the road and a very good win against Florida Atlantic. Iowa State, same old. They didn't look that impressive, even though they covered against Northern Iowa, and then last week they got off to a tough start before they rallied back. With that being said, I bet numbers, not teams. I laid 2 with Iowa State early in the week, expecting the number to go to 3.
All right, numbers move significantly down. Kansas State's 4 at Missouri.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to the Texas Tech-Oregon game, and that, my gut is telling me handicapping 101, Missouri's the side. Haven't looked good the first 2 weeks. Kansas State's been impressive, 2 blowout wins. With that being said, if they're 2 teams, when you look at what they want to do and want to accomplish, very similar. It's just Kansas State's better coached, doesn't turn the football over, fewer penalties. Man, my numbers right now at 4 would lean Kansas State. Haven't bet the game yet, though, as far as the side.
Do I lay 40 against Bowling Green with Michigan?
No, do I think Michigan, I hate you saying this even, I do think Michigan's due to stretch their legs a little bit offensively after being less than overwhelming offensively the last couple of weeks. So it wouldn't surprise me that Michigan, I would guess I'd prefer the total, because if they end up extending, they can go over this total themselves.
Yeah, 53.5 right now. Well, you mentioned, Michigan hasn't blown up yet. Last week was UNLV. Now UNLV's back here. They're taking on Vandy. The number started 2. Now it's 4. You siding with the Commodores?
I have that 2 ticket. I think I'm the only guy in the world that has that 2 ticket. I'm pretty happy with that one.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see come 7 o'clock on Saturday night, but that was too short. Would I lay the 4.5 now? Still probably would lean that way, but I don't think it's a high-value pick. Right now, I'd actually still bet the over. I bet the over when that opened. That was too low, in my opinion, as far as mispricing. Over 59 would be my preference. I think the go-go offense will get going a little bit here against Vanderbilt. Their defense didn't impress me specifically against Hawaii, but I also think Vanderbilt's offense is capable of getting in the 30s here.
I got Virginia Tech +7 earlier today against Rutgers. Yeah,
Virginia Tech's banged up a little bit. Keeping that in mind, I think the quarterback might be out, top wide receiver might be out, so that's why. If that one looks a little funky, that's kind of why. But,
okay.
Man, I don't think the quarterback's worth that much for Virginia Tech, to be honest with you. We're talking about a total now at 37 with the weather. Virginia Tech just played in weather.
Yep.
So if you gave me $20, I'm okay with your bet. I might end up in the window. I was just hoping with all the money, maybe I can get a rogue 7.5. But yeah, I like Virginia Tech.
All right.
Even without the quarterback.
Obviously, I watch the Rutgers games. Schiano he plays for field goals, essentially. It's just ball control, try to play good defense, and then get into field goal range, and maybe you get a touchdown. I think teams that they can beat, he keeps them close, and I think what he's hoping is the teams that have more manpower, he can keep them close by going ball control. But these are the kind of games where it might be a one-sided game, but they might not score enough to cover 7. So,
yeah.
South Florida.
It looked okay. I mean, I kind of thought that when everybody threw Northwestern in the trash, I was like, man, I don't know. Rutgers might be halfway decent watching that one.
I think their defense is good, and they've actually built up their lines enough that they actually have Big Ten size. And the other thing is their best running back actually hasn't really been healthy, so there's still some upside. But the quarterback, they got to trust him more. So South Florida and Alabama, that's 33.5. Alabama's on the road. I had a listener come up to me yesterday at the Rampart, and he wanted to go with the traditional Bama is angry, bet him in the first half. What do you do with this game?
I laid it with Alabama. I made it 34.5, 35, so
Okay.
I still lean that way. I'm big time concerned about their chances of winning the national championship, but man, South Florida's not very good. So even with the first-year coach, they're still trying to find their feet. I think if Alabama wants to, and that's what it's going to come down to in the second half, if they want to get margin, they can get it if they want it.
It also might be important if they're up big to get a look at another quarterback too now.
I would hope that there's some urgency with some of the backup quarterbacks after what Milroe did last week.
Tell me if I'm a dummy on this one. Well, I didn't get the best number, but I'm still believing that San Diego State can get better. They're good on defense. God dang, Oregon State's been good, though, and now they're laying 25.
Nah, I'm on the Oregon State.
Should have bailed.
San Diego State's a bad football team, in my opinion. Don't believe me, pop in the Idaho State game.
Yeah, and then Idaho.
That team that Utah State beat by 50 last week. So I saw in the Ohio game, I'm like, this is not a good team. They'd have lost if Rourke when they got hurt. So they didn't cover last week. I thought UCLA, if they wanted to, could have gotten a little bit more margin. I think Oregon State's so efficient offensively and defensively that, I mean, they don't make any mistakes. They can win this one by 35.
Brad, I got 15 seconds left for the Reno audience. Nevada plus the points against Kansas?
No.
Oh, boy.
Not there.
Wow, that was quick. Sorry, Reno. That was real quick. Brad Powers, sports.com, at BradPowers7 up on Twitter. Brad, you're awesome. We appreciate it. Good luck this weekend.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.